ons begin, daar's redelik baie wat ons moet deurgaan. There's quite a bit that we have to go through. Now, the resistor and potentiometer is the two things that we're going to do first. Usually constructed of components that can be purchased at electronic outlets. Now, I'm not going to read the entire book to you. Different tolerances, that's important. The tolerance shows how close the actual value is. We're going to do that now. You get them in 5%, 10%, and then it sounds like somebody wants to be admitted. Just 1 second, guys. Stick around. Right. Welcome, Kieran. Back to there. Right. That means that if it's 5%, if a 1K resistor could be 950 ohms or 1050 ohms, that would be considered a 1 kilo ohm 5% resistor. Comes in different wattages. They've got a 125 milliwatt resistor over here. Chances that you will encounter one of those very slim. Generally, what we use is quarter watt, 250 milliamps, half watt, 1 watt, up to about 20 watt, as they say here, or more. All electrical components have symbols and can be used to draw circuit diagrams showing the component should be connected. Okay. I'm moving my mouse. I'm reading with my mouse, and apparently that's irritating. So I will be refrain from doing that any further. To create a particular circuit, these diagrams are known as schematic diagrams, and the symbol for a resistor in a schematic diagram is this. But there is another one, and I'm just going to show that to you. I'm going to really try and show it to you.
You almost got me worried there for a second because I remember the way technical drawing one as well.
Yeah, that's
Zigzag.
it. Yeah. So there's two standards. It's the ANSI standard, which give you the squiggly thing, as they call it, or the zigzag, and then the IEC symbols, which is the square resistor symbol. Now, most of the things that I encounter looks like this. So I'm just quickly going to explain this here. You got the value, which we're going to learn to read just now. And then you've got your part position number over there. And then this squiggly thing here, the zigzag, shows that it's a resistor. It can also be the square box. You do encounter circuit diagrams like that as well. Another thing before I forget, this is a point where the two join, and in some cases these will cross. I've seen some nice ones over here. That one crosses there without touching, but it joins over there, and that is how you draw and how you know that this circuit goes through that resistor, which is marked 3242. That's the position number. The value is 22K. Right, back to the book. Okay. This is all I said now. Different types of resistors. Here's your zigzag. Here they say about the zigzag. Different type of resistors. You get the carbon film, which is the most common one, and have a general tolerance of about 5%. And they say it comes from 125. We use mostly quarter watt up to about 2 watt, which is correct. Then you get your metal film resistor, which is more accurate. You would use it in measurement applications because they are generally 1% tolerance and the same wattage, up to, they say here, 500 milliwatt. We will believe them because beginner write their exam. Wire wound, generally used when you are when you have a lot of current. In other words, if you want to, for instance, measure the current drawn to your car starter, you would use one of these high current resistors, and they call it also a shunt transistor. But there's a very important thing to remember: wire wound resistors should never be used in radio frequency applications because they have uh, unacceptably high inductance. Reason: because it is a wire wound, it's a coil. So the moment you start to put high frequency through it, the impedance changes the resistance value, and that leads to disaster. Ask me. Resistor networks, basically, that would be used on a microcontroller where you've got, for argument's sake, 8 bits, and you need to pull them high, but you want to use only one supply. So you would then have a resistor network with 9 pins, one supplied to positive, and the others keep the um, data bus high. Right. Then we move on to the reason why I'm going very fast through this is that this is stuff you can read and understand. When we get to the maths, is one of the popper dance. That's where the real things start to happen. Resistors are very small components, few millimeters long, and they are probably the most irritating little things, but you can't go without them. Right? That's not written in the book. That's just from my personal experience. Instead of printing the value onto the resistors, because it's too small, you won't be able to read it. They've decided that they're going to give it color codes. Now, you've got to learn these color codes and you're going to use it a lot. So, learn it well. Um, in this, here's an example of a resistor. Let's just grab my mouse and ride it over there to the brown. Brown is number 1. Now, I'm going to explain this a couple of times because it is very important that you get this right. It's easy. It's money. It's points in the bank. So if you know this, they will ask it and you will get points for this. Now, how you read this is your first one, the first color you write down, the second color you write down, and the third color is your multiplier. I'm going to explain that now. And then your last color here, in this case, it's gold. Gold represents 5% tolerance. So let's start with a 1 that you write down, 0 that you write down. So we've got 1, 0. Red is 2. So we've got 1, 0 with 2 zeros added on to the end. So that will give us a 1K resistor. And it seems like the book agrees. So we're happy with that. The last one, the gold one, is the 5%, as I said. There's other tolerances as well. Here's your color code, by the way. 1%, 2%, 2%. I mean, why would you go and buy 2% if you get 1% for approximately the same price anyway? Right. So let's see the color codes. Black is 0. Brown, I mean, you can read it. It's not that. But we've got a little rhyme that we've made up. And that is: bad boys rape our young girls, but Violet gives willingly. And if you have that in your head, then, I mean, what I usually do whenever I need to figure out what the value of a resistor is, I write this down with the numbers next to it, and then it makes it very easy. It's very quick to scribble down these things. So I'm going to say that little rhyme again. I guess you can probably look it up in the recording afterwards as well. Bad boys rape our young girls, but Violet gives willingly. Okay, that's it. Right. So if there's anybody that doesn't understand this, we will handle it at the end. We'll come back to it if necessary. Then I want to make a suggestion, or yeah, that if we get to a point where you guys don't understand any part of it, it's been suggested that we maybe meet physically and do it on a blackboard like we used to do it in school, just to make sure that you can get the calculations right. 1 and 2%. That's also when they really want to mess about, and you'll typically get it with the 1% and 2% resistors, is they put the third band or actually a fourth band into the resistor. All you need to remember is that the last one is the multiplier, or the one that's not gold or silver. So you read it from the other side, from the side which is not gold or silver, and you and there's usually a space between the tolerance and the actual value. So the ones that's close together, that's where you start reading. Write the first one down, write the second one down, and the third one is your multiplier. If there's four bands, you'll write the first three down, and the last one is your multiplier. But generally, it's only in exceptional circumstances where they use the 1%, and uh, uh, um, so you won't really encounter that a lot. But it's good to know. Is everybody still there, or am I talking to myself?
I hear you clearly. I hear you.
Okay, I hear some noise there in the background. Good. I just want to quickly check if there's nobody waiting to get in. Just 1 second. Uh, Now I have completely lost there. Where's that now? Oh, so sorry, guys. I just want to check whether there's somebody maybe waiting to get in. Shame. Doesn't look like it. If right, let's carry on. Right. So this is how you write. Resistance is measured in ohms, and the symbol used for it, or what do you call this abbreviation? Symbol is ohm, the omega sign. So you would write 10 ohms would be 10 omega sign. The K here is 1,000. I think they did. You did do this in the previous class with Louis. The K is 1,000 and meg. Now, for some reason, anything that is on the right side of the decimal point is in small letters, except for the K. And everything that's left of the decimal point is in capital letters, except for the K. The K, which means 1,000, is a small letter. And I don't know why they've done this, probably to confuse us, but that's just something to remember. And I will point it out a couple of times. 10K, so that would be 10 kilo ohm resistor. And if you would write this, it would be brown, black, with three zeros, and three is orange. So that would be brown, black, orange. Second is is meg, capital letter M. If it's a small letter, it means milli. So just something to remember. If you get that wrong, big problem. Okay. Now, when you write 1.5 mega ohms in a resistor, it's very easy that the decimal point can get lost and you get 15 meg. And that's a big difference. It might just let the magic smoke out. So a person can't get it wrong. So for that reason, they put the 1 meg 5, they put the M in this case in the place of the decimal point. You can also put the R there. So in other words, if you've got a 1.5 ohm resistor, you will put 1.1R5 as they've done here. 3K3 is a 3,300 ohm resistor, 3 orange with 2 zeros to make it 3,300. So that would be orange, red, just for interest's sake. Then we get to the potentiometer or potentiometer. Some people pronounce it that way around. Doesn't matter. As long as you know that it's a 3-point thingy with a wiper in the middle. Now, what basically happens is you get, for argument's sake, a 10K potentiometer. Consider that B is 0 and A is 10K. Then it's got a wiper and it's got a carbon slider that slides between these 2 points. So if you connect the middle point and you put your ohm meter on that and you slide it all the way up, it will move in a linear manner to 10K. If it's a linear pot, you get logarithmic pots as well, but don't worry about that now. Whatever you take away on a linear pot on the one side, if it go more this way, whatever gets taken away this side goes to this one. So if you measure, the balance of 1K would be on the other side, if that makes sense. Right. And they happen to use all the values that I use, so it makes it a lot easier. Do they have a picture of a potentiometer? No, they don't. So then we just go and look for one. Sorry, guys, I just want to show you what the thing looks like so that you maybe Google won't understand exactly what I'm saying if I say that. Okay, there it is. There's a symbol. Don't know whether this is very small. Let's see if we can make it bigger. That's the symbol for a potentiometer. It can also be the square one. Good. So let's see if they've got it in there. There's your resistor network that we spoke about just now. Potentiometer. Where are you? There we go. This oak. So you've got a carbon strip over there that goes right around. It starts from point E, goes right around, and it ends at point G. And this is your wiper. The wiper is connected onto this little plate. And as you, this shaft and the plate is attached. So as you turn this shaft, this plate slides around and it varies the amount of resistance that you can measure over here. And that is typically used as a volume control or a balance control, or your not your multimeter, your bench power supplies voltage control can typically be something like that. And I keep on getting notifications and it's very irritating. Right, back to the book. Right. Potentiometer have a value of 10K, 10,000 ohms. we need to write this, it would be brown, black, with 3 zeros, which would be orange. Uh, 5K. That's basically what I just explained. Whatever's on the one side's on the other side. If you take away on the one side, it will go to the other side. And they explain that whole thing over here. You can read through it. There's the other symbol for a variable resistor. If this arrow points the other way, it means it's a preset. Then it's not a volume control like you've got on your hi-fi. Then it's like something that you preset and you leave it to a setting, like, for instance, how they tune your radio on the inside. You don't, as a user, go and adjust that. You need a technician to adjust it, which you will be very close to by the time you're done with this course. Summary, let's see what they say. The resistor is an electronic control component with defined resistance, tolerance, and power rating. The tolerance is a percentage by which the actual resistor might deviate from the normal value of the resistor. So, in other words, that's what we said. If it's a 5%, then 1K can be 950 or 1050. The value and tolerance of a resistor is represented using the resistor's color code. And I read with my mouse again, so I must stop that. The potentiometer or pot, that is, I don't know whether you guys recall, I just now asked Google, I want to see a picture of a pot. That's like the abbreviation slang type of thing for a variable resistor or potentiometer. So the pot comes from potentiometer, and it is not something you would make food in. Right, let's go to the questions. Potentiometer is a meter. Variable resistor sounds good. Battery, definitely not. Capacitor, definitely not. So in this case, I would go for B. Now, I don't know whether I must give you guys the opportunity to answer the questions, or do you prefer me telling you what the answers are?
Sure, we all can give a try on that.
Okay, I'll read the question. You give me the whoever vinger op die knoppie. Whoever answers first. You can also use the chat. I think Marty can see the chat. Can you see the chat? Then she can shout it out to me and say, Peter is right, or whoever. How can we determine the carbon resistor's electrical tolerance rating? Right. You guys read the answers by using a wave meter, by using the resistor's color code. I don't even know what CE means. I've never ever gotten something like, I don't know what it means. Um, I see color code. Marty says the color code is the answers. That is indeed correct. Right. Next. Which of the resistors below, each identified by its color code, would be nearest to the value of a 4K7 resistor? So we know 4 is what color? I can't remember. So I'll have to go and, no, let me not take the question away. Let's, yellow. It's yellow, huh?
That's correct. Yellow.
Yellow. So it must start with yellow and it must end with violet. But there isn't something like that. Yellow, green. Green is 5. So we want a red at the back. Yellow, green, red would be the closest. Do you guys agree with me?
D.
B.
Huh?
Okay, good.
B.
If everybody agrees on B, then I say it's B. So then All of us can't be wrong. Right. What would the color code what would the color code for a 820 ohm resistor excluding the tolerance band be? So we know that 8 is
Gray.
gray. Good. And we know 2 is
Red.
Red.
Okay,
that's
yeah, that's
right.
red.
And then the last one is
Multiplier,
that's
which
right.
will be by 10, which is brown.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, you know what? This is actually a catchy one because it's zero. You can very easily think that it's black, but it's not black. And there they've done it. They lead you into temptation. So they want you to make the mistake. They want you to think that it's zero and it's black, but it's actually 10, which would mean brown. That is 100% correct. Good. B. Is everybody up to speed?
Yep, I'm on my side.
Okay.
That is all.
I want to hear from those people that don't know nothing about electronics.
I'm good, yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent. If you don't understand and you don't know electronics, that's actually for you that I'm here. The guys that do know electronics, we just like put a little turpentine in there so that they can wake up a little. So we are here for the guys that don't know anything, right? What would the value of a resistor with a color code orange, orange, orange be? Okay, that sounds strange. B. Okay. Anyway, there we've got 330 ohm. No. What number you think it is? Okay. I'm waiting for somebody to.
I think it's C.
Okay. Anybody else? Does anybody else differ from Ryan? Nobody? Okay. I agree with you, Ryan. I think it's also. I think it's Ryan that did answer. So
Janku.
Janku, ag sorry hoor. Ek kan jou nie sien praat nie. So ek luister na die stemme, maar uit die aard van die saak doesn't look like I'm very good at it. But okay, let's carry on. A 10K resistor has a gold tolerance band. The actual resistance may be gold, 5%. That's the one that we used in the sample. So, I mean, if you just have memory, you'll be able to identify it. Oh, no, it's not. Let's see. 10K. So it can be 5% up or 5% down. Okay, 6B. I hear there they say 6B in the answers. Is there anybody that differs with that? Okay, good. Right. A 2.2 ohm resistor might be labeled on a schematic diagram as. My phone's going bonkers. I'm waiting for those answers to come through. Right, so everybody should have the answer C over there. If you have anything else, then I would like to know why. Okay, that's good. 7C in the group chat. That's what I want to hear. The label 4M7 on a circuit diagram would refer to a resistor of 4.7 meg, current of 4.7 mega amp, or a voltage of 4.7 megavolt of any of the above. Yeah, A, I hear they say A. So it is good. If you got anything else, I would like to
Is that not
know.
a catch question as I didn't indicate the unit?
Let's read it again. That's now 8. The
Yes.
label 4meg7 or 4m7 on a circuit diagram could refer to. Look, we know this is meg, so we know this is ohm, but it can be.
They
Yeah,
never
that.
indicated in that the unit of measure.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. It could be. You know
But
what
given
this?
the yeah, given the discussion as well, just
Well,
catching on that little technicality that if
it
it's a
could
trick
be.
question on
It
that.
could be because there is no unit allocated. A label for M7 on a circuit diagram could refer to. Okay, but if it sits next to a resistor, it would be
Yeah,
resistance or like amps, or so it could be any of the above.
there's never
Is
a
there?
unit of measure indicated.
That's it. So it could be 4M7. So it can be 4.7 megavolt. It's true. You are right. Is it Ryan?
Yeah,
Okay, great. That's correct.
the
Yeah,
off
that's
by
a trick.
ones.
Yeah. Luckily, that one is
That's a
a
real
trick.
trick one.
Yeah, because we are working with resistors, so we assume that it's meg. But yeah, I know you know what they say about assumption. Right, the
Hmm.
circuit diagram of a resistor is not a straight line. Um, Zigzag line with a circle around, definitely not. Rectangle is correct. Right, and I hear that in the comments also it is correct. Which of the following type of resistors would be unsuitable for radio frequency applications? I'm not going to answer that. You guys must give me that because I specifically told you which ones you shouldn't use.
I think it's C.
C, correct. Yes, sir. Right. Direct current circuits. Right. Now, this is where things really get interesting. Um, Now, DC is direct current, means that it's got a positive and a negative, and the positive always stays positive, and the negative always stays negative. And it's called direct current, DC, and it is usually a battery or a DC power supply or something of that sort. Then the other one is AC. Now, I'm not going to read exactly what's written in the book. You can go and read the actual wording there. I'm just explaining the concept to you. AC is alternating current. So, in the case of your mains in the wall, it switches 50 times a second between positive and negative, and that's why it's called alternating current. Just You guys did do with Louis that I think it was Louis the electrons. Now I always use the example of uh, uh, um, like ball bearings in a pipe. The pipe is full of ball bearings, and when you add one on the one side, one drops out on the other side, and it's almost instantaneous. Now I can't get that word. Instantaneous. I sound like our president. Um, Instantaneous. In electricity, that happens virtually 90% the speed of light. through copper cable. But now here's an interesting question. If I ask you how fast does electrons flow through a wire, what would your answer be? Very fast, like in a flash, or just faster than walking speed?
Depends on the conductor. What a type
That's,
of wire?
well, on
Copper
average,
or aluminum, it doesn't flow
copper.
as fast, depending on the
But
material.
if I say fast, how fast is fast? Well, let me answer the question. You'll be surprised and you can go and look it up. But electrons flow very slow, just slightly faster than what walking speed is. So, but there's a lot of them. And as you add them in on the one end, they drop out the other end. You can go and look that up on Google, and it is a interesting fact. And a lot of people think that if electrons actually move fast, they don't. Okay, let's carry on with other things here. Okay, this is important because I remember, I think it was in Louis' class that they used the E instead of the V, and everybody asked why the E was there. Right, now here they say, remember that voltage is commonly used term meaning electric potential difference. As it's common practice in industry, we will use the term voltage rather than electric potential difference for the remainder of these notes. Now, the electric potential difference is where the E comes from, but it just causes confusion. So V, just know that E it could be that you see an equation that says E equals V times I times R. And then you know that what they actually mean is it's voltage. Now, there was a guy, old Kirchhoff, and he thought he's very clever, so he made a law. Well, two very.
Scroll jou foon terwyl jou ouma jou bel. Ek het jou gesien. Dan vra sy vir jou vra, nê?
Peter.
Okay, right. Ons aangaan. Okay, this basically allows us to analyze electric circuits. If you get it wrong, it's a circus. At any point in a circuit where two or more conductors are joined, the sum of the currents flowing into the points are equal to the sum of the currents flowing away from the point. So what they are saying, the current on this side is exactly the same as the current on this side. And the sum of these two currents are equal to this one and equal to this one. So they might differ here and there, but if you add them together, and this is a very nice way that you can analyze circuits and you can check that it's correct. So for argument's sake, if you're going to calculate the current through these two resistors, you can actually add them together and then see whether you get the right answer. So you can check yourself. Right, let's see here. Shows resistors connected in parallel. A B flows current left. Going through. It's basically what I just told you. Current divider, yeah. So in other words, if you want to take some current away from this one, because it can't handle all the current, you would put another one and then they would share the problem. This is not a complete circuit, I know, because there's no power supply. As we have not shown the source of the electric potential, which they said that they're going to use the word voltage, and they don't, that is causing the current to flow. we must assume that there is some voltage source with its positive terminal connected to the wire on the left-hand side and of the diagram, and its negative terminal connected to the wire on the right-hand side terminal to make the current flow. Okay, that is for those who don't know electrical circuits. If the positive and negative are not connected correctly, or if there's a break anywhere in the wire, current won't flow. And that's basically what they're saying there. Okay, if you apply the law, that's the one that I just explained there at the top. You add the two together, and that will then give you the total current. So let's carry on and see here. And I've got a whole explanation here from current 1, current 2. But at this point, this doesn't make sense because there's no figures in it. So once we start to calculate the resistors, all will make sense. So I'm going to just slide past this for the moment. Then, yes, is it the same law? Okay, this is the voltages one. So the voltages between any 2 points in the circuit is equal to the sum of the voltage drops along the path connecting those points. So in other words, if we calculate, say for argument's sake, this battery is 12 volts and this side is the 0 volt line. This side you're going to measure 0 volt and this side you're going to measure 12 volt. I'm now just using this resistor as an example. So the voltage drop over this resistor would be a total of 12 volts. So if we now take, they just told us there at the top that the voltage going in here and the voltage going around here is exactly the same. So we'll have 12 volt in here as well. So what we can do is now with Ohm's law, we can actually calculate the current going through this resistor because we have the voltage drop and we don't have the value. So okay, sorry. No, we can't. They haven't given us as resistor values. Right. Anyway, so, but they will soon. If you get resistors in series, you add together, and resistors in parallel, there's a specific way of calculating it, and we're going to get to it now. Okay, they're just explaining here that the voltage goes from the, we always work with conventional flow. So as far as we are concerned, power flows from positive to negative. That's the conventional electron flow is, they shouldn't tell people about it because it's just confusing to understand. I mean, can you imagine if you have to calculate everything in reverse? Drive you crazy. Okay, but the voltage applied by the battery will cause a current to flow through R1 and R2. Current flow through R3. Okay, that is what we've just said now. However, we know from Ohm's law that when a current flows through a resistance, there will be a voltage across the resistance. I mean, we did say that. A voltage drop, we did say that as well. Okay, let's carry on. Right, the potential difference across a component like a resistor caused by the current flow through the component. Okay, so we know that V equals IR. So the voltage through a device is directly proportional to the current times the resistance. So if any one of those change, the voltage will change. Okay, look, you know what? It's very difficult to consider these things without numbers in them. because once we start to calculate them, it will make a lot more sense. Okay, let's go through this. Sum of the voltage drops around any closed circuit is 0. Yeah, so resistors in series. Right, here we start. Now here we're going to get some figures that we can work with. So let me just quickly explain here. When you have resistors in series, you simply add the resistance together. So if this one's 10 ohm and this one's 10 ohm, the total resistance of the two in series would be 20 ohms. And if this is 12 volt, then we can calculate the value. And once we've got I, we can times that with this resistor and times that with this resistor, and we can get the voltage drop through each one of these. And by adding those voltage drops together, we should get the total voltage of this battery again. And that's how you can check yourself. So if you can get this section right, if you understand it and you can do it well, it's points in the bank. It's one of those things that if you understand it and you get it right, you got the points. Ohm's law, you guys understand Ohm's law. Here they basically say that the voltage drop from the one and the other one added together gives you the total voltage. Here they explain that to get voltage 1 through the one resistor, like I explained, you time the current with the resistor 1, and then to get the second voltage, you time the current times the current with resistor 2, and you get the voltage drops. Okay, V total. This is all. This is basically what I said there. When two or more resistors are connected in series, the combined resistors is the sum of the individual resistances. Very fancy way of saying you add them together. Right, here's an example of three resistors with values 1K, 2K, and 4K. So 1 and 2 is 3 plus 4 is 7K. So if they're in series, you add the resistance together. And then if they're in parallel, that is where the sports really begins. Right. So what basically happens is that if you have a 10 ohm here and a 10 ohm here, the combined resistance will halve, and you'll have a total resistance of 5. But that is only if they are exactly the same. But I would never advise you to assume. I would always advise you to calculate. Right. Right. So here's the story again. Now, the triangle is a lot easier. And it's a lot better if you put V on top of R. It makes a lot more sense. Writing it like this looks sometimes, even to me that's been working with these things my whole life, looks strange. But V goes on top of R, and then you calculate. Okay, let's just go through this. I want to get to calculating. Now, here's your formula for calculating resistors in parallel. And if you can get this right, you're going to be a master. And I work a lot with electronic engineering students, and I tell them if they Ohm's law is the key to being an electronic engineer. If you've got that, you're halfway there. Then you must just figure out what the capacitor does, and the rest you'll pick up as you go along. Right, here we get some values. I'm going to scroll that now. I'm looking for a calculator. There we go. Right, if I can slide this oak in there. So they say this is the reciprocal. It's 1 over RT. Actually, they write there parallel, but it's R, it's a total resistance. So it's 1 over RT equals 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. So here's the values we are looking for. Now I'm just going to do it a couple of things here so that you understand why I'm using certain functions on the calculator. So if we say 1 divided by 220, it gives me that. So I go and I say 220, and where's that thingy gone now? It was here minutes ago. Okay, there it is. X to the minus 1, right? Gives me exactly the same answer. So instead of writing it divided, we can use that function, gives me the same answer. So if we take 220, we do it that thingy, and we add it to 330, and we do that to the 330, and we equal, we get that value. But in order to see the actual RT, we must turn it around. See, we are pretty close to what they've got there. So if we do that to that, we should get to that answer. Now, there's another way of doing it, and I'm now going to do a deliberate mistake, and you see who picks it up. I say, well, let's clear that. 1 divided by bracket 1 divided by 220 bracket closed plus bracket open 1 divided by 330. Right. Now, technically, that is the same. So we should get the same answer. But we don't. Who can tell me why?
Jy moes nog hakkies ingesit het.
Okay, who's that?
Pieter.
Wat 'n Pieter is dit?
Piek.
Piek. Is jy elektronies of is jy wiskundig?
Nee, maar dit lyk vir my asof jy eers gedeel het en toe bymekaar getel het.
Dis presies die storie. So dis presies wat gebeur het, en ons moet vir die rekenaar sê ons wil hy moet eers hierdie som doen voordat hy daardie som doen. Okay.
Of jy die VWA, hakies van deel vermenigvuldig optel en aftrek.
Dis
Volgorde
reg, ja.
Volgorde van bewerking.
Ek dink hulle doen botmas deesdae of so ietsie.
Is daar enige iemand wat hierdie nie verstaan nie? Asseblief, hierdie is absoluut van kardinale belang, en jy gaan dit kry.
Graham sê hy wil hê jy moet dit weer verduidelik.
Okay, Graham, I'll go through it again. Let's just clear everything here. Right. 1 over R, I'm going to call it RT, they call it R parallel, but the correct way is 1 over RT equals 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. Now, we have proven that, you just do that, 1 divided by 220 is indeed exactly the same as 220 to the power of minus 1 equals. Works out exactly the same. So we can use that function, and that is now where it's important that you identify the function on your calculator, Now, back in the day, the English schools used the sharp calculator and the Afrikaans used the not so sharp, I mean the Casio calculator, and their layouts, they've got the same functions, but their layouts are slightly different. Now, in my case, with these calculations, I actually prefer the sharp because on the sharp, it's the first function. Right. So just for interest's sake. Right. So now we know that that and that is the same. So we will say 220 to the power of -1 plus 330 to the power of -1, which we know now is the same as 1 over 220 plus 1 over 330, right? So if we did this individually, we'll end up with this answer, but we're going to not do it individually, so we're going to go directly jump to that answer. Indeed, we did. So we agree that that is correct, and then we have to do that once more with it to get the resistance value, because what we have at the moment is 1 over RT, and we want it as a resistance value. And if we do that, we get 32 ohm. 132 ohms, sorry, I'm losing focus. Graham, are you okay with it now? Joey? Oh, I see. Okay. Marty says Joey is using Graham's laptop. Joey, must I do it once more? I don't, nothing heard, so I assume if not, we will come back to it. I'll do it afterwards with Joey once more, yeah, because right. So Joey, I will do it afterwards with you. Well, with everybody, whoever wants to do it again, we will do it again. What do they? Incas or value? Okay. Okay, here's a practical example. Let's just see what they say here. Okay, this is just what basically what Louis explained last time is with a pipe and the water and whatever. So dummy load, this is something we're gonna get to use quite often. High powered resistors that can be connected to an antenna port for a transmitter. It enables the transmitter to be tested and aligned without actually transmitting a signal. So the signal gets transmitted into the dummy load and it can't go anywhere else. The radio thinks that everything is okay. There's a nice antenna on, SWR, all is good, and you can adjust your radio to its optimal performance. Now, in most cases, the average guy will not go and fiddle in his radio. But if you've been a ham for about 50 years, you probably will. Transmitting a signal during testing, when not absolutely necessary, would cause interference and would be considered extremely bad manners by other amateurs. In other words, if you go and sit and play with your radio's mic and you key this thing continuously to see on your power meter how much power your radio actually puts out, you're going to drive the other people up the wall, and it's bad conduct by a radio amateur. you should know better because it's written in the book. Commercial dummy loads are available, but they are quite expensive. Yes, they are quite expensive. Actually, ridiculously expensive. But it's because they've got the special resistor in there that is non-inductive. Alternative for the amateur is to make his own. Unfortunately, the most common available suitable resistors only have a power rating of 2 watts, so you'll have to use lots of them. Okay, so the solution is 52 watt resistors, which we just said. Okay, and they say you want a resistance of 50 ohms, which is the value to match most amateur transceivers. I have never come across a transceiver that needs anything else than 50 ohms. I don't know whether there actually is a transceiver that uses any other value. I've never seen it. I don't know if anybody else know if there is anything. I haven't seen anything else. Okay, the dummy load generally a shield to prevent anything from getting out. I don't know whether you guys are familiar with a Faraday cage. It's basically can be a fence. Uh, I've seen these like chicken coops that they build where the radio technician sits in so that the RF signal can't get out. So the higher the frequency, the smaller the mesh must be, because as you will see later, that the higher the frequency, the smaller the wavelength, and the easier it is for the signal to get through, well, in this case, the fence. Yeah, some guys put it in a baking powder tin with arc welding oil, and yeah, there's many ways to build this thing. You get some of them that's very high power. I mean, I've seen one that's I think 3 kilowatts. So, and I think you get bigger ones than that. So it's a huge tin of oil with resistors inside. Right. Let me just get my calculator out of the way for the moment. Okay, yeah, they just explain, you can read this, how to make the dummy load. Central conductor and the body of the tin and whatever. Right, then you get a voltage divider. Now, voltage divider basically consists of two resistors of either equal value or different values, depends on the application. Now, what it basically means, if these two resistors are exactly the same, this would be exactly half the voltage that you put in. So if you put 12 volts in, the voltage divider will divide it into 2, and it will be 6 volts. Now, if you change the ratio between these two, this voltage will move up and down. Now, you typically use that, for argument's sake, you have a microcontroller and you want to measure the voltage on your car's battery, which goes up to 14.2 volt. Your processor can only handle on its analog input a maximum of 5 volts. So you have to divide that up. You can divide it by 10. So then you'll put 100K there and a 10K over here, and you'll get 1/10 of the voltage fed in will be over here. And you then program your microcontroller so that it knows that the voltage that it measures must be times by 10. And that's where you use a voltage divider. And with the same Ohm's law, you can actually calculate what the voltage drop would be. And of course, to use the appropriate resistors in order that they can handle the wattage, that this magic smoke doesn't escape. Okay, here's basically the same thing once again. They used the divide sign there. If they put the V on top, it would have made a lot more sense. But you basically add the two resistors together because essentially they are two resistors in series, and you add them together to get the total resistance. And from there, you can calculate the current, and from there, you can calculate the voltage drop over each one of them. Right, and then they've got a whole lot of different ways of getting to the same thing. I don't really like it if they explain formulas like this. I know I like it when there's numbers in, because then you can actually do it and you can get to an answer, and that's the easiest way to understand whether you actually, well, to see whether you actually understand the formula. So let's see here on the summary. Kirchhoff's current law states that any point in a circuit where two or more conductors are joined, the sum of the currents flowing into the points is equal to the sum of the currents flowing away from the point. His voltage law states that the voltages between any 2 points in the circuit is equal to the sum of the voltage drops along any path connecting those points. So that's basically what I explained just now, is that the voltage drops are, if you add them all together, you get the same voltage you applied. And then if you add all the currents together, your current should also give you the total current of your circuit. We can use these laws in conjunction with Ohm's laws to calculate the equivalent values of resistors in series and parallel or shunt. That's what I said. When two or more resistors are connected in series, the combined resistance of the sum of the individual, I lost myself there. When two or more resistors are connected in series, the combined resistance is the sum of the individual resistances, which is correct, yes. So if you got resistors connected in series, you add them together. Parallel, you need use that other formula of 1 over RT, 1 over R1, 1 over R2, and it carries on forever. You can have like 100 resistors in parallel. I think we're going to get an example of it just now. We don't need to calculate, but I'm going to calculate it to prove a point. When two or more resistors are connected in parallel, the reciprocal of the equivalent parallel resistance is the sum of the reciprocals of the individual resistances. Okay, so that is a very complicated way of saying 1 over RT equals 1 over R1 or whatever. But as long as you can do the math, then you'll understand it. A voltage divider consists of two resistors in series with an output voltage. Sorry, that's my mouse that decides it, so it's got a mind of its own. So output voltage is measured across one of the resistors. The formula for the output voltage of a voltage divider is voltage out equals a V in R2 divided by R1 plus R2. But yeah, it's difficult to do it without values. So let's see the revision questions, how many of them we can answer correctly. Two 10K resistors are connected in parallel. If a voltage from a battery across those resistors sets up a current of 5 milliamp in one resistor, how much current will flow into the second resistor? So there's I said when both resistors are the same and the voltage in parallel is the same, then the resistance will be the same, or the current will be the same. So, but we can calculate that. Do they give us a? They don't give us a voltage. We've got a current, so we can calculate it. Yeah. Let's see. Clear. Is there anybody that knows the answer, that agrees with me? Okay, the D is what they say. That is correct. I'm not going to waste unnecessary time. We're already running late. If two resistors are connected in series to a 9-volt battery, the voltage across one of the resistors is 5 volt. What is the voltage across the other resistor? Well, we know that the sum of both voltages should be 9 volt. So if the one side is 5, then whatever's left over should be the other side. So I would say it's A. That is correct. In a parallel circuit with a voltage source and several branch resistors, what relationship does the total current have to the current in the branch currents? Average is not correct. Sum of the branch current. So I would say it's B. Does everybody agree with me? Yep. Good. Thank you very much. Okay, so it seems like I got something right. Or you guys are just very clever. Two resistors are connected in series. The combined resistance, okay, it's connected in series. The combined resistance is 1,200 ohm. One of the resistors is 800 ohm. What is the value of the other resistor? So we know that if it's in series, we add it together. So we must subtract 800 from 1,200, and that is going to leave us with C, if everybody could. Okay, and everybody agrees. A 100 ohm resistor is connected in series with a 200 ohm resistor. The equivalent resistance of the two resistors is C. Anybody that disagrees? Okay, your silence is appreciated. No, I'm just joking. A 100 ohm resistor is connected in parallel with a 200 ohm resistor. The equivalent resistance of two resistors is. Now here, we're not going to assume, and we're going to calculate. So we've got a 100 and a 200 ohm. Where can I put my calculator so that we can see? Let me move that up. Then I can put the calculator in there. Right, 100 ohms, 100, and that plus 200, that equals, and we do that to that, and we got 66 point, okay, 66, so it's B. Okay, thank you very much. Works like a charm. Throw the calculator away. 3 light bulbs are connected in series. Which of the following statements is necessarily true? Okay, the current flowing through each of the bulbs is identical. Kershaw says so because it's in series. Is it correct? Yeah, it's in series. No, the voltage across each of the bulbs will not be identical because the sum of the voltage drops across those bulbs equals the total. So it will not be B. The resistance of each bulb is identical. No. The light given off by each bulb is identical. No. So it will be, did I say? 7A, yeah. The current flowing through each, because it's in series, the current anywhere in that circuit would be the same everywhere. So that is 7. 2 light bulbs are connected in parallel to a mains supply. One of them blows and becomes an open circuit. No current can flow through it. What will happen to the current flowing through the other bulb that is still working? Now, because it's in parallel, the one will go open circuit, and into the globe itself, to the bulb itself, there's going to be no difference. It's just going to carry on like normal, and the current through the globe or the bulb will stay the same. However, the current in the total circuit is going to drop by whatever the other bulb drew. So in this case, they asked very specifically, what will happen to the bulb? Nothing. It's going to just carry on as normal because it's in parallel. Anybody disagree with me?
Oh.
Okay. The output voltage from a voltage divider with 2 equal resistances will be, and that's exactly what I explained right at the beginning.
Sorry, sir. Could you go through question A again? 8.
Sorry.
Sorry, sir. Could you go through question 8 again, please?
Okay, I will do that. 2 bulbs are connected in parallel to a main supply. That main supply is actually just to confuse you, so it's just connected in parallel. One of them blows and becomes open circuit. Now, open circuit means that it's the circuit in that half of the parallel circuit is broken. Then they ask, what will happen to the current flowing through the bulb that is still working? Now, in that part of the circuit, nothing will happen to the bulb because it was connected in parallel and it will just carry on as normal.
Sir, I would disagree.
Okay.
So there's no resistance on that one light bulb that has burnt out, so all the current would flow through the remaining light bulb, I would assume.
Yeah, you see, the thing is that we can actually calculate this, but in parallel, if you measure the current in series with the whole circuit, the current will drop by half. But in the parallel circuit, because you're basically just taking one light away, the other light can't draw more current and it will not get brighter. This is now, of course, I must add that we assume that the power supply is sufficient to drive both. So in other words, the supply can handle it with ease. Then the supply's load will halve, but the remaining lamp will just continue drawing the same current and will just continue shining. So the current will not increase through that lamp.
I don't quite understand why.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm also questioning that one.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe do it as a math calculation, because it's difficult. Like I said just now, it's very difficult to explain something if you don't have numbers. You know, that's math you got to prove, and it's difficult because all you can basically do is take my word for it. But look, we're going to come back to this question. We will mark this question, and we'll maybe even put a practical test to prove that the current flowing through the two lamps will stay exactly the same. Are you happy with that? That we put it aside and we'll get back to it and prove that the two currents stay the same?
Yes, that sounds fine.
Okay,
Sorry,
100%.
can I
Yes,
just
yes,
can
go.
I just throw something in there? So you've got your house, okay? You've got light bulbs in your house that are connected in parallel. Sorry, in parallel. Now, when one of the light bulbs breaks and the light bulb goes out, do the other light bulbs get brighter, or do they stay the same? I think if
That's
I'm on
another
the
way
right
of
track.
explaining it. Yeah. That's another way. And as a matter of fact, every house, all the houses, all your lights are connected in parallel.
Even
'Cause
street lights.
Yeah, if they were connected in series, if one blows, then all of them will go out.
So I think that's actually why it's important that it says main supply there. If it's on a battery, then the one bulb would get brighter
No,
because there's more. Well, yes,
No.
because there's more current going through. All the currents.
no. It will stay
The
It's
the
the
difference
same.
layout.
between being connected in series and parallel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something, something important to note about any resistance is the current draw doesn't I don't know how to express myself properly. If you use a voltage divider and you have, let's say, a 12-volt battery and you've got these two, let's say, 100 ohm resistance, they will blow if your current draw is bigger than the wattage that they can handle. Now, similarly, a light bulb draws a certain amount of wattage. So if you just remove one, you just remove more of the load, so the other one is actually unaffected.
Correct, yes.
So because you are halving the draw, your voltage hasn't changed and your resistance hasn't changed either.
Not in that section of the circuit, correct.
Yeah.
No. Okay, but we'll do this in practical. We'll get. I actually I happen to get some Krypton lamps. These ones are used in the torches, so we can actually solder a circuit together and prove that if we cut the one out, that the other one will stay normal, working as normal. Right, let's go to the question number 9. The output voltage from a voltage divider with two equal resistors will be?
B. Oh, no, hang on. Sorry, I'm at number 10. Half.
Okay, that's right. Number C. Right, now number 10. A dummy load is made by connecting 44 2K2 resistors each in parallel. The resistance of a dummy load is?
I've got a shortcut for this one, if I can show it to everyone.
Okay, show.
You take the 2K2s, because they are in parallel, you add them, you times 44, 2K2, add them all together, so times 44.
No, not that.
Yeah,
That
divided by 54. Hello?
times
You
times
add-
44 divided by?
I just worked it out.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly show you the correct way. Or
So-
well, let me not your way is not wrong, but I'm gonna show you the way that you calculate resistors in parallel. So we know that is 2,200. Let's just learn how to work a calculator. 2,200 we do that to it. We times it
By 44.
times it by 44
Times minus.
equals, and then we do exactly that to it, and it works out to 50 ohms. You see that the danger of not calculating this is that if they put any other value in there and they say the value of this dummy load, and you see dummy load 50 ohms and you jump to conclusions, they're going to get you there. So, you know what? It's easy to calculate. Just quickly go. I'll calculate it once more so that everybody can see. So
Yes,
we
yes.
take
Shortcut. You can take the 2,200 divided by 44.
divided by 44 equals 50. Okay, that's another way of doing it. I
The
wonder
sum
if
of
that
all
will.
the resistance divided by the quantity.
Okay, would it work with another value if you, for instance, use a 3K3 and you use less of more of them? So
Let
if I
me
take this and I times, or I divide it by, should work.
3K3 is 3,300
That's right.
divided by how many?
Well, it depends on now. We need to know it's probably going to be more resistors. So it will be 3,300 divided by 50, is it? 3300
It will be
divided by
66.
50 equals 66, and then works exactly the same. So if we take 66 times 3,300 and we do that to it, and we equals, and we do that to it again, 50 ohms. Okay, 100%. Your way works well. So that is another way of calculating it, is taking the quantity, you divide the quantity, you divide the value by the quantity. Is that
It's the
correct?
sum. It's the sum of all the resistors in parallel divided by the quantity.
Okay, that's another way of calculating it. And it works because we change the value and it gives us the same answer. Good. Right, next. Oh, we're done. Right, gents. Going back to this question, I know that it's maybe difficult for everybody to. So what I'll do is maybe set up a little experiment
Or
with
virtual
a.
lab.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. And then I'll do that. We're gonna have a what do you call it? Rehearsal. What do you call it, Marty?
Mm.
But practical now, man. When everybody gets together and we recheck everything. A review. That's it. Sorry. I can't speak these English style very deliciously. Right. So, yeah, guys, that's the story, man. Okay. So what I have not done is, I have made resistors, which I can't get to now for some reason. I'm going to close the tabs. What? I want to open that. Open it with it. Right now, here I've made very sophisticated circuits that you guys can calculate, which we will make available. Now, you must be able to calculate this one. You must be able to calculate this one. If you can calculate this one, you will be okay. You will definitely get full marks on this section. If you can calculate this one, you're a show-off. So we will make this available somehow, either email it to everybody and WhatsApp it and whatever. It's not a very big PDF file. And then you can, if you don't get these two right, and you have to calculate everything right up
What is
to
the
the
questions? Do you just want the currents flowing through all of the resistance?
everything.
And the
I want the
volts?
current, the voltage drops, the power, everything. So we haven't done power yet, but you'll have to calculate the current and the voltage drops before you can do the power anyway. So I think the power we are doing on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, let's just see here. Power and DC circuits, yeah. So there's P equals VI. So once again, you're going to put that into a triangle and it makes it a lot easier. So you're going to calculate the wattage. And once again, you use the voltage times the amps. And yeah, so this is very, very, it's nice math. It's actually very easy once you get the hang of it. And it's points in the bank every time. So any questions? Now somebody must just not say start from the top, please.
Practice and reading through it slower.
Yeah, you see, the thing is that, I mean, we've already been an hour and a half, so we are half an hour over. So
He's got a hand up.
Yeah, I'm very patient. I would like to suggest or know who would be interested in getting together soon, maybe over the weekend, and spending time and working through this.
That just sounds like not a bad idea.
Maybe we can get together at our lovely training venue, get to know each other, see each other face to face, and we can make Henry sweat and ask him difficult questions. Do we want to set something up? Do you want to think about it, respond on the group
I
chat?
think we can, let's arrange it on the group for those who can't make it. You know, we'll make a recording once again and make it available for them to watch. And then if, I mean, it's still early days. We've got time to get this sorted. They could try that very sophisticated circuit that I've drawn. And if they get it right, then good. If they don't, then we will take them to our training camp and then drill them until they get it right. All right, I'm going to stop the recording for the sake of the people that's going to watch